Hello, fellow psychonauts, seers, and mystics, and welcome to another edition of Magus Maximus, where we talk about all things spiritual and occult. So, I'm going to talk about an experience I had years and years ago. It was around 21 years ago. Okay, so I had this spontaneous Kundalini awakening. At least that's what, when I've told people what happened, they said that's what it is, which makes sense because I was reading a book on Kundalini at the time. This one right here. It's too bright. Okay, you can see it. It's got all these cool illustrations and you know how it's one of these fancy books where it's pretty much all it breaks it down into the main things. Okay, so and it would make sense that it was because of the trauma that I was going through at the time. So that's the thing. When I was when this was happening, I was by myself at home because my family had all gone to San Diego. This was when I lived in California. I stayed at home, which probably was a bad idea, but I couldn't deal with it. I was too sensitive. I didn't tell you. Okay, so my nephew, who was 3 months old, I think, was dying. Well, basically, he was already dead, and it was just a matter of time. It was just really my sister getting the courage to finally just pull the plug. And so I was going through this serious fucking trauma, and I was dealing with it alone. And so I was looking through this book, and then something in it where I didn't even try to do it, it just triggered this fucking whatever. It just felt like a flood of energy. And like I was laying down because I was in a I guess I had read it, and then I was in a meditative state, and like something triggered it. My muscles got all rigid and stiff, and then I started having convulsions, and it was like a grand mal seizure, basically. And I never went to a doctor or anything about it because I kind of knew it had to do with the spiritual thing and with what I was going through, and it never happened before, never happened afterwards, but it was like a bolt of lightning had fucking hit me. And so if you don't know, so Kundalini in yoga and from India, it's this energy, this snake, that coil. It's actually inside your base chakra, and when you awaken the Kundalini, it wraps around your spinal column, and it wraps around connecting the chakra system. And so this was a major it fucking hit me from nowhere, and I knew it was a spiritual thing I was going through, and I knew that it was triggered by the basically it was triggered by the trauma I was going through, and it was probably one of the worst emotional traumas in my lifetime. And I still miss that kid. I never got to see him grow up. His twin sister is gonna turn 21 on Halloween. So they were twins, and she survived. And that's one of the most painful things that ever happened. Like losing a child, it fucks a family up. And it hurt me so bad, and it wasn't even my child, it was just my nephew. Well, I shouldn't say just. And so these things can happen, and this is the thing. Like, I thought I was dying, because that's almost what it felt like. And then it was over, and it was like, I don't know, it was very hard to explain things to people that have never experienced them. It was like I died and was reborn, and it was something that I didn't do on purpose. And this is why because sometimes trauma triggers stuff, but this is the whole thing. This is why if you hear people say, oh, well, Kundalini yoga is dangerous and you need a master, this is probably what they're talking about. Because if if it awakens, you awaken it too soon or whatever, some people, they literally will fucking die. Other people say, oh, that's just made up no, man, what I went through, I think I was close to not making it through it. It's one of those things that it's a very powerful experience. It's a very powerful thing. Okay, so like let's see, what does the book say? It says blah blah blah. The tantric concept, liberation while living, is considered in Indian life to be the highest experience, a fusion of individual with the universal. The individual manifestation is like a spark of the cosmos, as the human organism, not orgasm, the microcosm parallels everything in the macrocosm. The complete drama of the universe, where was I at? The complete drama of the universe repeated in the very body. The whole body, its biological, psychological processes become an instrument through which the cosmic power reveals itself. According to tantric principles, all that exists in the universe must also exist in the individual body. And this is when I was first taking yoga classes, which she did teach some basic stuff of Kundalini yoga, but this was much later, and I had this experience, unfortunately, without someone to guide me through it, and it wasn't even intentional. It just freaking, the trauma sparked it, like, literally. So, but back when I was taking yoga the first time, and no one told me this, I got this idea, because my brain was starting to think clear for different things, and like, I thought about the passage in the Bible that says, the passage of the Bible where, what am I thinking of? Where God created man in his own image. Well, I thought the image, it's not literal. God doesn't literally have 10 fingers and 10 fingers, 10 toes, and all that shit. It means the God, and I came up with the God, the thought came to me that God is the universe. What we see as the universe is really the subatomic structure of God, and that the idea that, this is before I ever read anything like this, that the idea that we were created in God's image, that we had a microscopic universe within us, and that's kind of what this is saying. And I had this epiphany way before I got this book. So as it's saying, according to the tantric principle, the universe must also exist in the individual body. If we can analyze one human being, we shall be able to analyze the entire universe, because it is believed that it is built on the same plane. The purpose is to search for the whole truth within, so that one may realize one's inner self, unfolding the basic reality of the universe. Well, that's very poetic. So, like I said, I didn't do it on purpose, but anyone who's interested in Kundalini yoga, especially awakening the serpent power, as they call it, you probably would want to do that with someone who knows what they're doing and can help you through the process. And hopefully you won't have a spontaneous Kundalini awakening like I did. I know I have all these weird experiences. I don't know. I just do. Okay, so that's the first part. Now I'm going to talk about this book, The 14-Sign Zodiac by Nam H. Nguyen. Yeah, it's, let's see if you can see it. If you can't see his name. He's Vietnamese, and the weird thing is how I came to finding this. Okay, so I was thinking about Jesus and how they're saying, he says that he had 12 disciples, 12 main disciples, but and especially if you start looking into some of like the Gnostic texts and the Christian Apocrypha, Jesus didn't have 12 disciples. He had 13. The 13th being Mary Magdalene, or maybe she was the first or whatever. So that would make a total of 14 people. So I started looking things up, like it said where there's 14 main Olympians. Of course, some people say only 12. Okay, so that made me thinking, okay, Olympic gods. That made me think, well, the zodiac's based on the gods. So looked up some, like, well, I wonder if there's such thing as a 14-sign zodiac. And I read it's something called sidereal astrology, which I don't know much about, but this thing, it goes in and talks about the different signs and about you're on a journey going through this, which it has stuff in here. It alludes to the possibility, never mentions it, of using the stuff in here as some kind of ritual, like, and if you can see this, see, that's a pretty cool illustration. Yeah, so from that I got into this, and then there's also another connection. Okay, there's really not an agreement on how many Knights of the Round Table there were, which doesn't really matter because it did never happen. The King Arthur thing was a legend. It was based on some legends that might have been true, but then they were thrown together and turned into like this epic story. So there might be a basis for King Arthur, but not the way we know him. Just maybe he's based on some Welsh folk hero or something. So, my point with that is that some say like 100 and whatever, but there's 12 Knights of the Round Table, and another number that says 13. Obviously, there's several different versions of it. So 13 with Knights of the Round Table with Arthur would make another 14. So there's a lot of things that you can connect to this, and so just thinking of that got me to see if there's a 14 sign zodiac. And this book, it's for its price, it's kind of skimpy of a book, but I believe that's because it looks like it's self-published, where he sent it to a printer to print it for him. So he's got to try to make money, so he's charging like $25 for that, which if you go in knowing that it's going to be a total of, like, I think, what is it? Total of 69 pages, and the print's really big, then you'll know it. But it goes into the 14 sign zodiac, and it goes into these concepts of what is the thing over here? So there's they add Opicurus, which is a constellation of some sort, that they added that to it. And since they're all in pairs, so he made the pair Orion, the Orion constellation. And so, like, there's some stuff like some of these illustrations give you like this. If you look at it now, there. Let me turn the light off of it a little bit. Okay. All right. So you see that, and it's hard to tell, but there's the zodiac signs around it, the 14 zodiacs. And this appears, if you look at it closely, it looks like a clock face and like maybe a compass face, but it's also the ceremonial circle. So it goes into it, and it goes about. What was that called? That's Ophiuchus Orion Axis, and it goes into, talks about five elemental dimensional stuff, some pretty, so he basically, he's connecting astronomy and astrology together, and there's some pretty interesting ideas in here. He talks about something called solar nodes and black hole eclipses. Once in a long time, and pretty frequently our sun eclipses this black hole that's in the center of our galaxy. And it's usually partial eclipses, but every once in a great while, it'll probably thousands of years, because it's a cycle, like our sun will, or galaxy, well, our sun and our solar system will eclipse a black hole. And he goes into what that means and what it might not mean, and a solar nodes and black hole eclipses. And it's got some pretty cool illustrations in here. So it's not what I wanted. I wanted something that was going to tell me more about astrology and kind of give some interesting ideas. Because I'm wanting to learn astrology, but I'm trying to find it from a standpoint of an occult view on it. And someone had suggested that the book by Aleister Crowley, but that book, you can't get it for anything less than $60, and that's not something I can afford. So, but this is interesting, and it's not just this book. There's an idea of a 14-sign zodiac. I don't know if they'll all line up with this, but this has given me some pretty cool ideas, like an idea for a ritual. So I'm probably not going to figure it out anytime soon, but every once in a while I'm still recovering from the last experiment I did. So maybe eventually I'll figure a ritual out using this information here. So yeah, there's the traditional 12 signs of the zodiac, but then there's the 14 sign, and it might become a 16 sign or 20. It might keep going, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to work with astrology and astronomy and take that old view of the universe and kind of give it a new basically give it a facelift. And then I don't want to deal with any of this pop astrology, which is mainly what you find at bookstores and even online. It's hard to find, and I want something. Man, if you guys have any idea of something for that's gonna be like within the 25 to lower range of a book, please let me know. The cheaper the better. And because I'm trying to learn astrology, because obviously it's all through ceremonial magic, and I want to learn more about it to improve my understanding of the magical process. And so if any of you guys can help me with that, finding something that will really give me a good understanding, because I've tried looking at some of those books. I've tried reading some of this. I'm not trying to fucking tell fortunes and shit. I'm not trying to do what do they call those? A horoscope. I'm trying to understand the type of astrology they were doing when they were the type of astrology that basically they're trying to what they're doing in the Golden Dawn and some of the older ones, and a lot of like the the kind of astrology that they're doing in this book. This is the key. I've had this for a long time. In a long time, I just looked at it and I started working on doing some of the prayers and rituals and stuff on there, and working with the things. This was This is a really nice one. The cover, the dust jacket's really messed up. It's a see, it's a hardbound cover, and it's a book of Solomonic magic. It's a grimoire that's attributed to Solomon, like a bunch of others are. And there's some stuff, and I don't know. You can't really read. This is the one where you've probably seen a million of the. Where is it? Hold on, I'm trying to find some of these talismans. Talisman. How do you? Talisman. What is the plural? I think it is talisman. Okay, so you'd probably be familiar with some of these things. Maybe not all of them. But these are different things. So this is a pretty cool book, and this uses astrology and astrological timing and stuff like that. And like you have to, you could. You can do the stuff without the timing, but if you do the astrological timing, if you got it the right hours and the right time, I've heard that it actually makes the whatever you're doing more powerful. That's an interesting thing. I've always liked that thing. The first time I saw it, I was like, wow, I gotta get this. It's so cool. It just called out to me. And then back then, it was cool, and I read it, but a lot of it was like, I don't know, like geometry or something. Not geometry. Like trigonometry or something, where it was like way above my level. Well, so anyways, you guys might want to check out the 14 sign zodiac. There's other books that are 14 sign zodiac. I don't know if they completely agree with this guy. This guy, this is a cool book to have. So, and you'd probably like to help this guy out. Maybe he can write something. Maybe he can make enough money to write a bigger book and go more into all the intricacies of it. So yeah, that was pretty much what I wanted to share with you guys. So I thought I'd share it with you. And it's pretty interesting how I come up with these things that, like, one thought leads to another thought, leads to another thought, and leads me to some knowledge that I never even knew existed. So yeah, it's pretty fun when when stuff like that happens, and it's hard to explain. I've always had this intuition that's beyond intuition, like like the only thing, like, in this matter I ever talked to my mom about is I have always had dreams that came to fruition. And unfortunately, so I was talking about my nephew Mason, who had died of SIDS, and that was around a little over 21 years ago, or less than 21 years ago. So, because my niece is turning 21 this month, and Mason would have too. But my point is, the Monday, it was a Friday that we found out that he had stopped breathing, and they rushed him to the hospital. The Monday before that, either Sunday night or Monday night, I had a dream. In the dream, I thought it was my sister and my sister Heather, which is the mother of the twins. And she was talking to a boy or man or somebody, a friend of hers, and she said, I had another brother, but he died when we were born. And I remember waking up and thinking, that makes no sense. We didn't have another brother. And now I'm realizing that the girl in the dream was Kylie, and she was talking about Mason. And that's why the minute my mom told me that Mason was in had been rushed to the hospital because he hadn't been breathing, that my heart sunk in, because I fucking dreamt that, and I couldn't fucking do anything about it. And it fucking kills me. It's like, what is the point of this? It's like a curse to, it sucks because it's like what it is, like Nostradamus, where he made all these predictions, and they only can kind of figure out what the predictions were after the fact. It's the same with the biblical code, where they found all these codes. Yeah, but if you don't know what it means, it doesn't help you out. And it seems they only predict stuff after the thing has already happened. And I don't know, it's like time's kind of cyclical. Circular and cyclical, and it's not in a straight line. So stuff like that happens, and it's like, I mean, I do believe that there are people that are psychic, but I don't like the term, mainly because like the two terms I stay away from a lot, and this is not to mean and be an insult at people who are into Wicca and witchcraft and stuff like that, but the two terms I stay away from are psychic and witch, which I wish I shouldn't stick to that the whole time, because there's the guy, he wrote a book called Psychic Witch, and that's supposed to be really awesome, but it's just like, I'm not on the witchcraft thing. I'm ceremonial magic. That doesn't mean I don't have books that are from people who are doing more of the witchcraft thing or chaos magic, because I'm open to all of this stuff, you know. My main foundation is ceremonial magic. That's my base. That's my foundation. And so I don't say that, but so that's one thing. But the term psychic, the reason I stay away from that, because I used to like, oh, this book was about being psychic and blah, blah, blah. And I would get these books, and they're not, later on I found like they're completely wrong. Like there's this one I had, and I sold it to Half Price Books, so maybe someone would at least get a kick out of it. But it's talking about the pentagram, and everything's pentagram, but the picture it has is a hexagram, what we commonly would call the Star of David. And that's just completely wrong. Like, how did you let a book go to print and miss that mistake? So a lot of times it's just a scam to make money, just like, ooh, psychic network and shit. They're not psychic. So I tend to stay away from anything that uses the word psychic in it. Which, like I said, the one book that used two of those words seems like it's a badass book. And the guy wrote a bunch of other things. I forgot who wrote that, but I was watching some YouTube video with the guy on it, and it seemed like some pretty cool stuff. He even has a book on, he also has a book on, I forgot what it's called, but he has a book on the tarot, and he has a book called Mastering Magic. So I can't think of the name now, but you guys can look it up. So anyways, yeah, like I'm always trying to expand my horizon, and if there's anything that you guys know of books that have those two terms in it, that you say, hey Chris, you know, I know you don't like these terms, but this is a good book, or this is a good book, and this is like they actually know what they're talking about. Well, that's cool, because I mean both the terms are used as a scam. It's a scam because there's a lot of books out there that are supposedly magic or witchcraft and spell books that are just a bunch of garbage that people were trying to cash in on the whole what was it, the new age thing that kind of blew up there in the 90s a little bit. And that's kind of where I got started, and it was bad back then. There was like more conspiracy theories and nut job stuff there, and channelers. And okay, if you're a channeler and you're like, hey, it's a real thing, that's cool. But like anything else, the channelers and the psychics, they use that term to rip people off, and I tend to not like that, especially when if you're gonna try to make money off a book, get your fucking information correct. I hate shit like that. I hate it when people make shit up and lie, and well, there's this book, and I kept the book because the book in itself is good, but it's rubbish. The stories were good. It's called 21 Lessons of Merlin, if you guys have heard of that. I keep it because I have a real connection to the whole King Arthur thing, and I liked it, and it was disappointing to find out that the stuff in it was just a bunch of made-up bullshit to make money, but it's still a fun book, so if you, like, see it on, on like, the bargain bookshelf, or you see it cheap, the 21 Lessons of Merlin, pick it up, read it. Don't take it at face value. Read it with a grain of salt, and not going in there knowing that it's fucking fake. But I bet you, if you really like look into some of these things, you could use some of the imagery ideas in ritual stuff, but don't take the things that they call rituals or spells. Don't take that seriously. It's a bunch of garbage. I've heard that even like the stuff that they've translated from the supposed ruins in it and stuff, that it like, or whatever language it was, they said they like translated and it was just like a bunch of random words that didn't even really make sense. So that's another thing. It's a bunch of, it's garbage, it's not real, but it's pretty good. It has some pretty good storytelling in it. So if you're going in knowing that the 21 Lessons of Merlin is fake, it's not real spells, and you just take it all in, and just like, because to me, I don't know about you, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and in the 80s, when I was a kid, there was this movie called Excalibur, and I heard that still it's one of the best, probably the best King Arthur movie, that they pretty much got pretty much all that they could in a hour-and-a-half movie of the King Arthur legends. So that got me going, and so a lot of kids, and especially in England, like the legends it's their legends, and they really love it. I mean, I ate that stuff up, and it was kind of disappointing to find out that Merlin for sure didn't exist, and King Arthur didn't exist, but there was probably a dude named Arthur who was a hero, who was in the Welsh stories that got turned into the King Arthur stories. And I'd probably like to read those too, but the poeticness and the great storytelling of those old Arthurian legends, and just the whole story, it was great. I love those stories, and I'd like to sometime eventually maybe use that pantheon in my magic. But there's a book at the library, it's like this it's huge, man. It's like the black brick, except this one I only found it was in a paperback, and I tried to read some of it, but they have it where they take the Arthurian legends and they put it into magical rituals, and that's pretty cool if you guys are like into fan stuff like that. But I'm sure that thing, I think I looked it up, and it's a pretty penny even for the paperback, which it's a thick ass paperback, and it's like thousands of, got to be at least 1,000 pages, so it's a hefty read, something I'd never be able to continue reading in the library. So, which I wanted to get into it, but it'd be cool to like see something that's not as so elaborate. I mean, it was all elaborate. Like, these people really went through it and took the rituals and put the whole Arthurian pantheon on there, and it's neat. I even have, I've talked about it before, I think. I have one of my tarot sets that I got. It was probably, I think the first one that I bought myself, I had one given to me, and then I ended up getting rid of it because, I don't know, I went through from being obsessed with like witchcraft shit where I got in over my head, not because it was witchcraft or just because it was magic, and I was not taking it seriously, and I was dealing with spiritual entities that weren't what I thought they were. And so at a certain point I got rid of all my books and threw away my tarot cards, and I was freaked out. But then later on, even though I never got really, now I'm trying to learn tarot, I saw those and they were so cool. They're called not the ones I threw away, the ones I kept. They're the Glastonbury tarot. And because Glastonbury has something to do with the whole King Arthur thing. So they're basically tarot cards, and they're using the theme of the Arthurian legends, the legend of King Arthur, and those are cool. They have a kind of cool energy with them. And well, I've been yapping on here another 34 minutes here, which for me it's long because you guys don't watch the whole video. You guys watch like 30-second clips. Come on, man. I know sometimes it's cool to watch the short clips, but you gotta have a better attention span than that, especially if you're doing magic. You gotta have a focus. And so if you're just listening to 5 minutes of it, you're not getting the whole shebang. You're not getting the whole feel of it. So come on, work on your attention spans to where 35 minutes isn't a super long video. Nah, I'm just messing with you guys. I just know that, like, sometimes it's easier. Maybe you don't have time to watch the whole thing. But, alright, so, all you magical people out there, I'll see you next time. And hopefully, I hope everything's going well for you guys. I hope you're not going through so much stress, and just like, hey man, try to get along with people. Try to just like enjoy life, and that's what magic for me has helped me do, is enjoy life more. It'll help me get more balanced. I mean, balanced for me, maybe not balanced for you, because I'm pretty messed up, man. I've had so much shit in my life that I'm dealing with a lot of shit that I'm what is it, 48? I'm 48. Pretty close to 50, and I still have some fucking childhood trauma, mainly dealing with bullies and abandonment issues, feeling abandoned by my biological father. And I love the guy. It's just what I've got to accept, that how I want him to be isn't the way he's gonna be. If hanging out, seeing him every once in a while and having a good time is all he can offer, I guess that's all he can offer. And I mean, it's just a pain in the ass that he wouldn't be in our lives at all if my sister Heather hadn't have been keeping in touch with him. But I love him, and I'm just gonna have to accept that that's the way he is. That's how he was raised, to think that it was all about having a good time. And hey, man, of course it's great to have good times, but there's responsibilities too. And just because you can't handle things that have to do with your ex-wife doesn't mean you abandon your kids. Just because you get a divorce doesn't mean you divorce the kids. So, like, yeah, man. So people out there, man, if you get a divorce and you have kids, don't move to some other state. Don't not take care of your kids. Pay your child support and be in your kids' lives, because that shit hurts more than people realize it does. And I know I'm freaking close to being half a century, and I'm still crying about abandonment issues and being bullied. Well, then that should maybe help people see that this kind of shit screws you up for life. It screws you up. And then the occult book industry can make $1 million off of you to help you try to get your shit together, because that's what it is, getting your shit together. It's more than that, but that's a big chunk of it, because how do you expect to take the speck out of somebody else's eye while there's a gigantic log sticking in your eye? Yes, I know I go with the biblical things. I was I was raised Catholic, so that's figures a lot into my worldview, as they say. So even though I reject the upbringing, that all it did was make me feel guilty about being a human being. So like religion, and we weren't like super indoctrinated. We weren't super devout. We went to church sometimes, but my parents didn't follow all of the rules. I mean, we didn't follow every single rule, and I mean, they're still very much feel like they're Catholic, and I feel like I have that Catholicness to me, and that's probably part of the reason I kind of connected with ceremonial magic, is because there's a lot of Western symbolism. It is Christian Catholic. That's the stuff we know. That's the stuff we grew up with. So that's how, So, and hey, man, even though I've never read the whole Bible, and I don't know how you could, man. I had started on I started on like doing the books of Moses, and I think I got to like the beginning of the fourth one, and I didn't understand. I think it was whatever the one Numbers is or something. Numbers is freaking impossible to understand. I have read Revelation so fucking many times, and I read the Gospels a whole bunch of times. And, I like the Jesus stories. It's kind of screwed up what happened to him, and it's kind of screwed up that he got betrayed, but, I mean, you kind of maybe should keep your mouth shut about the religious fanatics who run everything, because those religious fanatics killed him. And the whole thing is with those stories, it doesn't matter. It's more important. The ideas within the stories are more important than whether the stories actually happened or whether the person existed. Like I was saying about the King Arthur stuff, that is so much for so many people, even though it's mostly based on fiction. So, I mean, whether it is or not, whatever stories that really move you, that really inspire you, hey man, who cares if they're real or not? I mean, Harry Potter's fiction, and everybody loves that stuff. I love Harry Potter too, man. Except, don't expect that that's what magic is. It's fictional magic. It's stories. It's fantasy. And I've always liked those stories. And yeah, cool. It would be cool if you could do all that stuff, but it's not really a reality. There's probably more you can do than I even believe right now, but I mean, as something to develop you spiritually, magic, especially any type of high magic, ceremonial magic, is actually a really good thing, and it's a very, what's the word? It's good therapy. Okay, so I thought I was going to shut up. Okay, so I'm getting off here now. You guys take care of yourself, and I'll see you later.